Welcome back to the corner of the internet where emotion takes center stage and the stardust feels close enough to touch. You're watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets, the space where we don't just report the headlines, we slip behind them to hear the heartbeat. If this is your first time with us, make sure you're subscribed. If you've been here a while and want to walk even closer with our community, the join button is waiting. Your support keeps these stories alive. Tap like, drop your thoughts, and settle in. Tonight's tale began as a film premiere and turned, in a breath, into something far more intimate, an unguarded love letter in front of 1,000 flashing lights. Anyone who's lived under the cinema's glow knows there are two shows running at once, the one on screen, and the one happening in the eyes of those who make it. Last night, that second show stole the spotlight. The premiere belonged to Semra Arda, her film, her night, her moment. But the red carpet, that glittering runway of practiced smiles and pose-perfect stillness, shifted into a confessional booth before our eyes. The air felt charged with the kind of authenticity that makes even the paparazzi pause. Semra stepped into the frame not just as an actress, but as a woman telling a truth. The flashbulbs hit her face, and yet, somehow, you noticed something gentler lighting her from within. Not shimmer from the gown, not a touch of highlighter, something real. The mics clustered in front of her like silver-stemmed flowers, every journalist hoping she'd give them a line for the feed. They asked about the film, of course. Then, as it always does, curiosity tilted toward the person behind the character. The mention of her recent birthday brushed her guard aside like a breeze lifting a curtain. She inhaled, slow and steady, and in that second you knew she was deciding whether to keep this memory protected or to hold it up to the world. She chose the latter, but with a tenderness that made even the most hardened reporter lean in. Her voice warmed when she said his name. Gökberk Yıldırım. She called him considerate. She called him gentle. Simple words, but the way she shaped them carried weight, the way a keepsake gains meaning because of the hands that have touched it. Before we dive deeper, family of Turkish Spotlight Secrets, let me ask you something. When did you last feel truly seen? Not the sort of gift anyone could guess, not a bouquet sized for a camera lens, but a gesture so specific you felt known all the way down to your childhood summers and old songs. Think about that. And then tell us. Your comments breathe life into this place. If these stories resonate, tap like so more hearts can find us. Back to the gala. Semra began to paint the night in quiet colors. The surprise, she explained, wasn't about spectacle. It was a map drawn by someone who had been listening with both ears and both eyes. When she walked into the space Gökberk prepared, she didn't just find decorations, she found her life arranged with reverence. Family albums she hadn't opened in years lay on velvet, candid photos, the sort you'd never post but keep tucked in a drawer, weighted like notes from time. The room hummed with songs she loved before anyone knew her name. She said the detail that pierced her most wasn't any single item. It was the realization that he had noticed. He had taken in the little things she never thought to mention twice. In a universe obsessed with being watched, she felt seen. That kind of honesty hit the room like gasoline to a rumor flame. You could almost hear the collective inhale when the inevitable question surfaced. Was there a proposal hidden in all this? Did the memory-laced path end at a ring? The camera lights brightened, that's what they do when they smell breaking news. But Semra did not deliver a scandal. She gave them something more maddening, the softest smile, a laugh folded into her breath, and a tilt of her head toward secrecy. Let's keep this just between us for a bit, she said, eyes glittering with mischief that refused to crack into confirmation. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She let the possibility stand in the light on its own 2 feet. Behind the ropes, whispers started immediately, the kind that rustle more loudly than applause. Some swore they'd seen something sparkle on her hand and then vanish. Others insisted that even if there wasn't a ring, there was a promise woven into the way they'd been moving recently, two people who have decided that partnership isn't a performance but a practice. Whether we were witnessing the prelude to a wedding or simply the deepening of a vow, one thing felt certain, the story just grew a second act. What struck me most wasn't the coyness. It was her choice of words when the questions turned from romance to daily life. Semra spoke about the grind of their world, the relentless hours, the emotional weight that acting demands, the treadmill that tries to run your spirit flat. In that storm, she didn't describe Gökberk as a rescuer or a prince. She called him stillness. She described a shoulder, the simple power of someone who says I'm here and means it for the long haul. That kind of presence doesn't photograph well, but it's the thing people who have lived a little know is worth more than any bouquet of headlines. He showed up for her through rehearsals and late-night rewrites, through the exhaustion that makes your bones feel like glass. Romance is nice, endurance is love's native language. Then came the internet, which is always watching but sometimes, beautifully, it's listening too. The clip of Semra's eyes tipping into tears traveled instantly. Within hours, comment sections glowed with shared hope. "She looks truly happy," wrote one viewer, and you could tell it wasn't a stan account looking for likes, it was someone recognizing a very human flicker. The moment went viral not because it was polished but because it wasn't. People are starving for something unscripted. Seeing a star fight back happy tears because she feels known hits like truth in a world that edits reality with a blade. Here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets, we watched your reactions stack up like little love notes. The consensus was clear: this couple sits softly but firmly in your hearts. Let's talk about the architect of the surprise, because great love stories often stand on quiet, careful blueprints. What we've learned from friends close to the pair is that Gökberk spent weeks on this, not as a producer barking orders, but as a curator building a gallery of her life. He tracked down photos from relatives, digitized old videos, and pieced together playlists for rooms so that space would carry memory without saying a word. He even drafted a handwritten timeline, gentle and private, connecting the dots of her earliest ambitions to the woman she is now. He was quoted, off camera, telling someone close, "Surprising her helps me feel closer to who she really is." That's not a grandstanding line. It's a man describing love as an act of paying attention. He didn't outsource. He immersed. All of this leaves us at a crossroads we adore on this channel. What story do you want us to open next? We'll happily keep following the thread of Semra and Gökberk, because there's texture here, a tenderness that makes big moments feel smaller and small moments feel infinite. But tell us, who else has you curious? Which Turkish duo carries a quiet electricity you want us to explore? Is it the on-screen chemistry of Afra Sarıkoglu and Mert Ramazan Demir? The timeless grace of Burhan Saat and the chapters around her? Your requests are the compass for Turkish Spotlight Secrets. We program from your pulse. As the gala thinned and the night's last interviews wrapped, there was a final exchange that felt like she'd tucked a ribbon around the whole evening. A journalist mentioned that she seemed different these days, softer, less guarded, more willing to let people see where her heart lives. Semra paused, lifted her chin just enough to make it a statement, and gave a line that could double as a life motto: when it's the right person, hiding stops making sense. That's not the proclamation of someone begging for attention, it's the quiet confidence of a woman who knows she's standing on steady ground. She moved through the exit in a hush of applause, her team forming that protective circle people mistake for distance when, really, it's a shelter. The cameras caught the glow, but the truth is, the glow was coming from within. The carpet rolled up, the lights dimmed, and still the echo didn't fade. If tonight's journey touched you, if you felt even a fraction of the warmth that made that crowded room fall silent, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Ring the bell so the next chapter finds you the moment it lands. Consider joining our membership to help us keep crafting these deep dives with the care they deserve. Thank you for giving us your time, your attention, and your trust. Until we meet again, remember, whatever you're curious to feel, whatever you're aching to understand, we're here, holding the light steady. Stay romantic. Stay curious. And good night from Turkish Spotlight Secrets. But you know us, we don't close a story just because the scene fades. We keep an ear to the ground and a hand to the door. In the days ahead, we'll watch for the subtle tells. The matching glances at an event, the quick touch in a corridor, the way two people learn to move in sync without thinking about it. That's the language we read here, body stories, not just word stories. If there is a ring, it will surface when it's meant to. If there isn't, the commitment already speaks in a frequency you can't fake. That's the kind of truth that refuses to be staged. A final note for those who want the deeper trenches: love in the public eye is a paradox. It demands that you share and save at the same time. Semra and Gökberk are learning the delicate balance of guarding what's sacred while letting the world glimpse the shine. The premiere became a sanctuary for a moment because two people chose openness over performance. That is why the clip traveled. That is why your comments felt like confessions. And that is why, when we say this felt like a real-life love letter written in front of 1,000 strangers, we are not exaggerating. It was not about spectacle. It was about attention. Attention is love's rarest currency. So here we are, at the end of a night that began as cinema and became something closer to ceremony. A woman celebrated her work, yes. A man honored her life, yes. And together, without a press release or a perfectly timed reveal, they reminded us why we still show up for stories. We're not chasing plot twists. We're chasing proof that tenderness can live in public and not lose its power. As long as Semra Arda and Gökberk Yıldırım keep answering each other with the kind of care we witnessed, we'll be here to tell it straight, to listen closely, and to carry it forward for the people who needed to hear it. Turkish Spotlight Secrets will keep the light on. We'll keep watching with empathy. And we'll keep asking the question that matters most: not what happened, but what it meant.